In this video, we're going to talk about benefits from trade. There always exist benefits when two parties can trade, and we're going to take a look here at a quick clip where Raj needs Sheldon to become a wingman so he can get a date, and Sheldon is going to benefit from this trade by getting some of Raj's quota.
Come on, Sheldon. The world is filled with people doing things outside. Let's go outside. Outside is good.
If outside is so good, why has mankind spent thousands of years trying to perfect inside?
I don't know. It's a marketing scheme. Please, Sheldon, I'm a young, virile visitor from a foreign land, and I need to strut my stuff.
Thanks for coming with me. Thanks for giving me your limited edition Green Lantern lantern. Did you really have to bring it in with you? What if evil strikes and my power ring runs low?
American woman!
What's going on? We scored! I'm the wingman!
Listen, I got a text from that girl, Abby, and she and her friend Martha want to hang out with us again. What do you say?
Fine, that's done. I've moved on to other things. For example, after I learn Finnish, I'm not going to learn Finnish again.
Please, Sheldon. I'm a lost Indian boy far from home, and I want a girlfriend, and I want her to be Abby, and she'll only come over if she can bring Martha.
Raj, I highly doubt there is any argument you can make, threat you might levy, rhetorical strategy, plea, invocation, supplication, or vetomus that you can employ that would convince me to reconsider.
My Incredible Hulk hands signed by Stan Lee.
Oh my. I've admired these for years.
Does that mean we can go out with the girls again?
Hulk agreed to second date with puny humans!
So that's one example of benefits from trade, but let's go through a little bit more concrete example here. So your little sister heard about the party that you were invited to and wants to come too, but obviously she's going to need to help you make some of these desserts. So here is your sister's production possibility frontier, her production schedule. Okay, so she can make 240 cookies and 0 cakes, or she can make 12 cakes and 0 cookies, or any of these combinations in between. So real quick quiz so that you understand opportunity costs here. What is your sister's opportunity cost of her first cake? Well, if you answered B, 20 cookies, that would be correct. How do we calculate that? Well, we go from 0 to 2 cakes, and we lose 40 cookies. So to go from 1 cake, we would lose half that many, or 20 cookies. All right, a couple of definitions here. First off is absolute advantage. If one party has an absolute advantage over the other party, that means that they have the ability to produce more of a good or service than the other party can with a given amount of resources. Okay? So my sister and I both have the same amount of resources, and she is able to produce 240 cookies, and I'm able to produce 120. So that means that my sister has an absolute advantage in baking cookies. Who has an absolute advantage in baking cakes? Well, again, I can only bake 10 cakes, and my sister can bake 12, so she also has the absolute advantage in baking cakes. Comparative advantage is the ability to produce a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than others. Okay? So who has the comparative advantage in baking cakes, and who has a comparative advantage in baking cookies? If you look at cakes first, for me, 1 cake costs 12 cookies, right? If I go from 0 to 1 cakes, I've given up 12 cookies. For my sister, if she goes from 0 to 2 cakes, she gives up 40 cookies, or 1 cake is 20 cookies. So for me to bake cakes, it costs 12 cookies. For my sister to bake cakes, it costs 20 cookies. So I have a lower opportunity cost for baking cakes, and I have a comparative advantage in cake baking. Okay? The cakes cost fewer cookies for me to make than my sister, so I should bake the cakes. Specialization is spending all of your time producing one or a particular good. Okay? So would both of these parties benefit from specialization in trade? If we both specialize, that means that I'm going to be baking 10 cakes and my sister will be baking 240 cookies, right? Because I have the comparative advantage in baking cakes and she has a comparative advantage in baking cookies. So are we both going to benefit from special in trade? Well, if we set a trade value anywhere between our opportunity costs, we are both going to benefit. This is true for any situation. Okay? So our opportunity cost, it's 12 cookies for 1 cake for me and 20 cookies for 1 cake for my sister. So I can trade her 1 cake for anything between 12 and 20 cookies, and we will both benefit. If I can get 20 cookies per cake, then my sister is just as well off as she was before, and I make 20 cookies for every cake I give up instead of 12. If she can get me to give up something like 16 cookies, then she will get 16, 1 cake, and only give up 16 cookies instead of giving up 20. So let's just assume those are our trade parameters. I'm going to give up 1 cake, and she'll give me 16 cookies each time. Let's go back and take a look at our production possibility frontiers and see how this affects everything if we actually truly do benefit each time. So I'm going to say I trade 5 cakes with my sister for 80 cookies, right? 5 times 16 gives me 80 cookies. Am I better off? All right. So if I would have just made 5 cakes, I would have 60 cookies. You can see that right here. Here's 5 cakes, right over there, boom, 60 cookies. But I've traded, of my 10 cakes, I've traded away 5, which puts me down at 5 cakes. And I've gotten now 80 cookies, which puts me at this point right here. Okay. And this point is actually in the unattainable region of our PPF, right? This was the area that we couldn't get to. This was not producible given what we had before. So I am better off than I was without my sister. And we can see that with trade, if we go ahead and fill out it anywhere on this line, I could have traded my sister 1 cake up to 10 cakes. And anywhere on there, I am better off with specialization and trade than I was without my sister. But what about my sister, right? She had an absolute advantage. She was better at baking cakes and cookies. Is she going to be better off with trade as well? So again, here is my sister's production possibility frontier. She could bake 12 cakes, or she could bake 240 cookies. And here's her production schedule. Is she going to be better off with the trade? I gave up 5 cakes, and she gave me 80 cookies, right? So that means she goes from 0 up to 5 cakes, and she still has 240 minus 80, or 160 cookies, right? So 5 cakes, she has 160 cookies. That's more than she could have produced before, right? Here's the point where she is now. She is better off. She's outperforming her PPF. She's in the unattainable area just by specializing and trading with me. She will always be better off with trade, just like I would, right? Both parties are better off, even if one party has an absolute advantage in both goods. Specialization and trade always improves outcomes.